Donald Trump is now going through architects, firing them when they disagree with him about design points, size issues. Happy Friday, everybody. We live in the United States of America, if you need reminded. It still is the United States of America. We are governed, we have elected, we have saw fit to put into power as President of the United States, Donald Trump, who's really more concerned with and obsessed with and fixated on being president of ballrooms, I guess. He has destroyed the east wing of the White House, literally demolished it. It's gone. It's just a hole in the ground now. To build this monstrosity that is bigger than the White House itself. And he won't shut the fuck up about it. Constantly posting on the internet about it. Ask random questions about something completely unrelated to the ballroom, and his dementia kicks in, and this lunatic starts rambling about the ballroom that nobody gives a fuck about. No one cares about the ballroom except for him because it's unnecessary. This monstrosity, this $350 million architectural nightmare. And the reason I say it's a nightmare is because Donald Trump is now going through architects, firing them when they disagree with him about design points, size issues. He believes he knows more than the person with advanced graduate degrees and expertise in their area of study. And he's firing. Get a load of this. This is peak Donald Trump. Daily Beast, Trump fires ballroom architect who said it was too big. The architect reportedly warned the president that enlarging the ballroom beyond the size of the White House itself was unwise. And our toddler, tantrum-throwing moron of a president fired him. President Donald Trump has replaced the architect who told him the White House ballroom was over the top. Trump had feuded with James McCreary II, whom he had personally selected to design his vanity project over his wish to supersize the already extravagant ballroom. McCreary urged Trump to exercise restraint. Good luck with that, Donald Trump exercising restraint. McCreary urged Trump to exercise restraint, warning that the planned 90,000 square foot addition would overshadow the 55,000 square foot executive residence, according to the Washington Post. On Thursday, the Post reported that McCreary stopped leading the project in late October and that Trump had tapped architect Shalom Bahrain's, I don't know. I'm not steeped in understanding and familiarity with all of the different architects in the city. Tap this other guy, Shalom, we'll call him, to take over. Now, look, let me say this. Pause here for a second. Donald Trump is trying to alter the makeup of our government, of our culture, of our society, of the country at large, but D.C. especially. He made a crack the other day about renaming the Kennedy Center the Trump Kennedy Center. What other president has ever tried to name so arrogantly, so self-absorbed, to name buildings while in office after himself? Nobody ever has done it. In the golden age of the founding period of our country, it was considered uncouth to even seek the office of president. You were nominated. You didn't even go through a candidacy like normal here, like we're used to. You don't throw your hat in the ring. You don't seek the office. But Donald Trump, who wants to compare himself to people like George Washington, he's renaming the Institute of Peace while there is all kinds of consternation about the war crimes being committed at his behest. This is fascism. This is Hitler shit. This is Germany in the 30s and 40s of the last century. Without a doubt, that's what it is. And anybody who wants to normalize this or act like it's not the things I've just said they're either stupid and have zero understanding of our global history, or they're liars who are working in service. They are lapdogs of the fascist. When reached for comment, White House spokesman Davis Ingle told the Daily Beast in a statement, as we begin to transition into the next stage of development on the White House ballroom, the administration is excited to share that. No, Donald Trump is excited to share. Come on. The administration, I would assume, has some people in it who are endeavoring to do the work of the people, who are endeavoring, even through their fascistic fever dream of what this policy should be, they are attending to the actual agenda of what Donald Trump promised, not this goofy, ostentatious ballroom. That the administration is excited to share that the highly talented Shalom, whatever his last name is, has joined the team of experts to carry out President Trump's vision on building what will be the greatest addition to the White House since the Oval Office, the White House ballroom. Shalom is an accomplished architect whose work has shaped the architectural identity of our nation's capital for decades, and his experience will be a great asset to the completion of the project. Baranis, is it Baranis? Let's go with Baranis. Baranis' firm has designed government buildings in D.C. for decades, including the General Services Administration's national headquarters. A White House official told the Beast that McCrary was not being replaced, but would continue on the project as a valuable consultant. The shakeup comes after Trump issued a cryptic Truth Social message about the ballroom on Monday. The president curiously stated of the construction, as long as we're going to do it right, in all capital letters. What does that mean? We don't expect answers. They're not coming anytime soon. The actual plans haven't been released, nor have they been approved by the city. Donald Trump is attempting to bypass architectural review, building permit, all of it. He thinks he is an island unto himself, a king-like figure who can just call the shots. No safety regulations will be taken into account. This will be a dangerous building, by all accounts, if Donald Trump gets his way. McCrary, whose firm is known for building Catholic churches, had reportedly told Trump that his ballooning vision for the ballroom risks violating a basic architectural rule. Don't let an extension engulf the building it's supposed to complement. But Trump has forged ahead with upsizing the ballroom, turning what was once supposed to be a 500-seat room into one that will accommodate 999 people. He wants it to potentially be big enough to host a presidential inauguration. Meanwhile, the cost has climbed from $200 million to $300 million, which Trump insists he and his billionaire pals will cover. That is yet to be seen. I still hold that a substantial portion of this will have to be covered by the taxpayers, and that all of the people who are now chipping in and then in return getting government contracts for their donation that ends up making them whole again. This isn't going to be all donated money. We're going to be on the hook for this. This unnecessary, in the midst of income inequality, the likes of which we haven't seen since the Gilded Age, maybe even worse than then, they're building this gold-encrusted nonsense ballroom for the richest and most powerful people to congregate and fellowship one with another. It's gross. Absolutely gross. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video.
When you attack American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital, you attack the very being of our way of life.
So there has been an arrest in the Capitol bombing case, and it wasn't Marjorie Taylor Greene that was arrested, for all of you who believed it was her. I don't even know if they got the right guy. We'll wait and see. When you have an administration that is creating out of whole cloth charges to weaponize against people like James Comey and Letitia James, charges, by the way, that grand juries are saying no to now. In Letitia James's case, another grand jury took a crack at this and said, nah, we're not doing this. The cases are being thrown out, that these illegal appointments of U.S. attorneys. Anyway, so I'm reticent to act like they've nailed the person, that they've got this. I'm going to have to wait and see what the evidence is that they present and test it against the veracity of my common sense, because they cannot be trusted. But yesterday, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, the two podcasters and insurrectionist supporting assholes, made the media rounds, bragging and boasting and taking a victory lap for their investigative prowess relative to this case. Wow. And Kash Patel, I mean, really, at this point, it's a goof, right? At this point, it's just it's a joke. It's like a big joke on the rest of us that these are the people they put in place, because Kash Patel, I have 3 clips here. Kash Patel went out there yesterday and during the press conference said some things that just are like a thumb in your eye, where he's talking about, if you attack our capital, you attack all of us. The guy who produced a music album for charity to support insurrectionists who attacked the Capitol. It's just projection. And the more radical that they do it, they think that we'll look the other way. I don't think that's how it works, though. Watch this.
General, when you attack American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital, you attack the very being of our way of life. And this FBI and this Department of Justice stand here to tell you that we will always refute it and combat it. We will provide the safest country the nation has ever seen under President Trump's leadership here. And that's what we did here today with great resolve.
Kash Patel made a lot of money promulgating and promoting the conspiracy that the FBI had planted individuals to spark the insurrection, ignoring everything we witnessed relative to the words of Rudy Giuliani. Trial by combat, said the octogenarian who's never, ever faced violence in his life. Our fat loser president at the time and now currently saying that we need to go down there and give them hell. We need to fight, and then dispatch the armed mob that he knew was armed because the Secret Service wasn't allowing them into the speech at the ellipse. And he was pissed about it. And he said, remove the magnetometers. I want my people here. They're not here to hurt me. And yet, Kash Patel wants you to believe that he believes that if you attack the United States Capitol, you attack the very being of our way of life, says Mini-Me. As part of his victory lap, he went on with the president's dopey son, and I don't necessarily mean dopey because of the dope that people say he does, but he is certainly dopey. And they had all kinds of insane projection type shit to talk about. Watch this and stifle your desire or urge to puke.
Since January 6th, 2020. But, I never understood how this could just disappear. I mean, 2 pipe bombs targeting the headquarters of the Republican Party, targeting the headquarters of the Democrat Party. I can understand maybe the media ignoring targets on the Republicans because, again, their silence is golden and they only report on that. But, I mean, that to me is a far greater threat than any of the nonsense, a grandma taking a selfie inside of January 6th. And yet it just disappeared. It's almost like that was the backup plan if they didn't get what they wanted out of January 6th, which to me seems like a very clear setup operation.
And look, you're absolutely right. Thanks to President Trump's sweeping victory and mandate for accountability across all sectors of law enforcement, especially those that harm Washington, D.C. and our elected leadership and American lives visiting our nation's capital, we just went at it with the same approach that we go after every single case this FBI handles. No resource will be spared. No agent or analyst or staff support will be spared. These guys worked literally around the clock for the last 6, 7, 8 months producing these lines of evidence, finding the leads. And you now know, based on the publication of the press conference, that yes, there were tips in there clues in there that we keyed in on, like this.
You're absolutely right, says the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation to the dipshit son of Donald Trump when he says It's almost like the pipe bombs were a backup plan if they didn't get what they wanted out of January 6th. And it's a nice euphemism to talk about grandmas taking selfies in January 6th, or how he phrased that. You're talking about a violent attempted overthrow of the United States government. All of the little cute language they use to not really drill down on the thing they're actually talking about is rich. And then I got a final clip for you. And this is Kash Patel and credibly accused rapist Greg Kelly waxing triumphant over this arrest and their investigations, communicating, putting out there that the Biden administration didn't want to solve this case, that it was something sinister about the fact that they couldn't find this person.
They deliberately did not want to solve this. I mean, this was challenging, but it was solvable, right?
In my opinion, the prior administration either was completely incompetent or intentional in their weaponization of justice and law enforcement. And we know they have a track record of the latter with Arctic Frost and Russiagate and so many else. So I put this in that folder. What we did was we rejected and are in the process of destroying and leveling the weaponization of justice and law enforcement and delivering results for the American people.
So Joe Biden intentionally didn't want the case solved. And why would that be? Because we're learning now that the person they have in custody, the person they've arrested, the person they're going to charge, was a Trump supporter. Why would Joe Biden, with all of his evil weaponization, want to not prosecute the Trump supporter who thought the election was stolen? It makes total sense. Look, if this is the kind of acumen and intelligence and logic that they bring to their jobs, we're doomed. We are cooked we're cooked anyway, but I mean, come on. When his rounds making are Newsmax and the goofy podcast of the president's son. Come on. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments. Do you share the skepticism that I have as well about that this is the guy? I mean, if it is, great. I'm looking forward to see his prosecution. I look forward to seeing what the evidence is, but I'm going to reserve judgment and not jump on this bandwagon because they really can't be trusted. And so we need to use our brains and all of our faculties to actually weigh what we see against their previous behavior and what will certainly be future behavior. I don't know if I've dropped the number already because I started rambling, but 714-576-4054 is the phone number to leave a voicemail. You can also email me daily@dollemore.com. Make sure you're subscribed to catch my videos on a daily basis on YouTube. It's free to do so. And you can also just like and follow the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily over there. We're almost to 40,000 followers and likers over there versus the 1.2 million here. Make it make sense. This is also part of the problem that this dipshit country music singer, girlfriend of Kash Patel, she's not in charge of the FBI. She is in no position to be directing FBI agents to do anything. So speaking of Kash Patel and the fecklessness, and I talked yesterday, I think he might be on his way out. I think that Fox News hates him. I think that they are setting the stage to start reporting on this story as well as others. We've seen that he's taken the jet off to go on dates with his girlfriend, going to wrestling matches and concerts, and then leaving those concerts that are in a completely different state to fly across the country to her home state of Nashville in Tennessee. We've seen him refusing to get out of the van until he had a tight enough coat that fit him right with the right patches on. He's just an egomaniac. He's a guy who feels bad about being 4'9" or 5 foot tall. There's nothing wrong with it. Be who you are. Just celebrate what you got. But he's insecure, like all of these MAGA clowns. And now there's an accusation against him, reporting that he's using FBI agents, ordering FBI agents to act as Uber drivers to get not his girlfriend home safe after she's been drinking, but his girlfriend's girlfriends. FBI agents are being used as chauffeurs, as Uber drivers, to get the friends of his girlfriend home after they've been drinking. What's all this rambling and bemoaning about fraud, waste, and abuse and mismanagement? This is from the new MS Now, still that name. From MS Now, Kash Patel ordered FBI detail to give girlfriend's pal a lift home. Sources. The FBI director's use of resources is under intense scrutiny as he insists he is a good steward, or just a steward, of taxpayer dollars. FBI Director Kash Patel has on more than one occasion ordered that the security detail protecting his girlfriend escort one of her allegedly inebriated friends home after a night of partying in Nashville, according to 3 people with knowledge of the incidents. Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, asked FBI agents on her security team at least 2 times, including once this spring, to drive her friend home, and agents objected to diverting from their assignment, said the sources, who were granted anonymity to discuss non-public matters. Look, this is also part of the problem that this dipshit country music singer, girlfriend of Kash Patel, look, it tells you there's something wrong with her picker. Her judgment's a little askew anyway, but she's not in charge of the FBI. She is in no position to be directing FBI agents to do anything. The fact that she has a protective detail is problematic enough. It's not the wife of the FBI director. It's the girlfriend. But Kash Patel is so desperate for acceptance. He just wants to cling on to this to make it a real thing because he is, he's Kash Patel. I'm never going to get a shot like this again. I got to make this one land and stick the landing really hard. But Patel insisted the FBI agents do as Wilkins requested, and in one case, called the leader of Wilkins's security detail and yelled at him to do so. News of the effort to deploy agents to provide security for a private citizen has spread through the Bureau and beyond as agents have grown increasingly concerned by Patel's use of the Bureau's strapped resources, the people said. Here's the other thing. Look, this is going to come to a head because media organizations and friendly outlets like Fox News are going to turn on Patel. But the other thing is, the reason we're learning about this is because people within the FBI are not happy about the way it's being managed. They're not happy about the things they witness. They're not happy about being directed to be fucking Uber drivers for the drunk girlfriends of Kash Patel's drunk girlfriend. FBI spokesperson Ben Williamson did not answer questions about multiple inside accounts of Wilkins's detail being diverted, but broadly denied such events took place. This is made up and did not happen, Williamson said. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. What's his name? Ben Williamson. It didn't happen. Well, what about all of the other things that have happened that are being reported? Are those also tons of fabrications? Are the flight logs fabricated that we know that he took the jet to the wrestling match and to the concert and then to Nashville and to Vegas and to Scotland for a golf trip? Are all the flight logs also did not happen? Because there's more than just this story that lead us to have concern about the manner with which the resources, again, the dwindling resources of the FBI, are being utilized. At Patel's direction, the FBI provides a separate security detail for Wilkins, 27, a country music performer who lives part-time in Nashville for her work. The FBI security detail, first reported by MS Now. MS Now. Oh, it's MS Now. I know I'm probably pissing somebody off who spent a lot of time working on that name, but the next time you need to rebrand MSNBC, call me up. I can help you out. I'm brilliant. Look, Dollamore Daily. It just rolls right off the tongue. First reported by MS Now, is made up of members of an elite SWAT team based in the area. It has spurred concerns about Patel abusing FBI resources to essentially drive his girlfriend around for various events and appointments. The FBI has never before provided a separate security detail for a director's girlfriend. Spouses of past directors typically received episodic security protection, but only when they were traveling with their spouse and the director's detail. Look, I don't have a problem with a spouse of a high-level official getting a little security, even full-time. I don't have a problem with that. There's all kinds of nuts out there. But a girlfriend who's very likely not going to end up being his spouse because she's going to see the writing on the wall, or sometimes she's going to wipe the sleep out of her eyes and realize he's 5 foot tall? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Former FBI agents and senior law enforcement officials said it was already disturbing that Patel had pulled elite tactical agents away from their SWAT team mission to drive his girlfriend around town. But they told MS Now they were shocked that the director instructed tactical agents to use their time on yet another person the FBI had no reasonable duty to protect. Also, they don't need protection. They're just randos. No one is going to be waiting in the wings. I'm a trained assassin. I'm here to get Kash Patel. Oh, I can't get Kash Patel. I'm going to get his girlfriend. Oh, I can't get her either. She's got a SWAT team detail. I know what I'll do. I'll get her drunk girlfriends that nobody knows about. It makes total sense, Kash. Quote, not only is the assignment of FBI SWAT personnel to a security detail to protect his girlfriend inappropriate, directing these highly trained professionals to babysit his girlfriend's friend is outrageous and demonstrative of Kash Patel's complete lack of judgment and integrity, said former FBI agent Chris O'Leary, an MS Now contributor. Quote, FBI agents, and we'll end it here, FBI agents serve the public and swear an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. This is clearly a long way from that. Christopher O'Leary is correct. Kash Patel is not long for this position. More and more and more stories are going to start making their way to the media through people who are unhappy with the job he's doing within the organization itself. This isn't coming from without. This is definitely coming from within. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. I believe it's an important one. The more that we can show, the more evidence that we can bring to bear that these people don't have the best interest of the country in their minds. They want to make things easy for themselves. They want to be seen as big time on private jets and be able to order FBI agents around. It's gross.
To have that many applications means that we're going to hire the best of the best, and individuals who have experience can get qualified for their ICE badge as soon as possible and hit the streets so that they can make sure that these families get to live safely again.
After the tragic and disgusting shooting of Sarah Beckstrom, the National Guard soldier from West Virginia, the 20-year-old who was killed by an Afghan national who was granted asylum by Donald Trump and allowed to enter the country in September of 2021 by Joe Biden, there's been a lot of talk about vetting of asylum seekers and vetting of migrants coming into the country. There doesn't seem to be any talk about vetting ICE agents who are endeavoring to kidnap those migrants off the streets while masked, while refusing to identify themselves. No vetting for them. And the details that we're starting to get through interviews and insiders who are sounding the alarm is, in fact, itself alarming. There's reason to sound the alarm. They are trying to put through, I'm going to read some paragraphs here that they will shock you. Even the incompetence that is on display of Donald Trump and Kristi Noem and these ghouls on a daily basis, even knowing everything you know, you'll be like, what? They're trying to put a nearly 500-pound man through ICE training at FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center? That's what they're trying to do? They have people who want to take a break from training to go deal with their court case that involves a gun charge. There are people going through ICE recruitment training that barely can read and write. Yeah, under Donald Trump, absolutely. Because there is a fever pitch to get this internal army stood up to be masked armed agents, the secret police of Donald Trump. And it doesn't matter how fucking fat you are. It doesn't matter how illiterate you are. It doesn't matter how criminally inclined you are. We want you. We need you. This is from the Daily Beast. ICE Barbie's hiring blitz descends into disaster with shockingly bad results. The deliberate rush to boost numbers had led to violent, barely literate, and unfit rookies becoming federal agents. You know, there was once a time, I remember when I moved from Washington, D.C. back to Idaho, and I lived in a town called Nampa, a town I went to elementary school and stuff. It's a suburb of Boise. And we had just bought the house that we lived in, and U.S. Marshals and FBI agents showed up at my house. And it was for somebody who owned the house before me. Trust me, there was no trouble. There was no trouble. And I remember thinking, like, these are two capable guys, professional men that were questioning me about whatever. I don't remember what it was because it had nothing to do with me. But they were men of to be at least admired in some way. They weren't giant 469-pound fatties who couldn't run a block to enforce laws. They had an acumen about them about investigatory matters that they could, put two and two together through their ability to read and write. It's just not the case anymore. A federal agent used to mean something, and it just doesn't anymore under Donald Trump. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's race to add 10,000 Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents has become a circus as sloppy vetting and massive bonuses have attracted a raft of bottom-of-the-barrel recruits and even some suspected of having gang ties. The thing that Donald Trump constantly talks about, migrants, they're sending their gang members, we have to get rid of them, as he hires gang members to be agents of the federal government. Noem, 54, again, I don't know if you've been around every time I get reminded of her age, but how is that lady not 65 years old? I mean, come on, 54, I'm 51. I'm 51 years old. That means that she was a senior when I was a freshman in high school, right? Isn't that the math that works out? I did graduate high school after all. Noem, shockingly 54 years old, dubbed Ice Barbie for staging glam raid photo ops, boasted this week that her department will hit 10,000 new recruits within days. In fact, let me give you about a minute of video of her talking to Sean Hannity, bragging about the quality of federal agent they're bringing in through their bonuses and trying to get ramped up to all of these new recruits. Watch this from her on Fox News.
You're looking to hire 10,000 more ICE agents. You have already well over 100,000 applications?
We do. In fact, as of today, about 110,000 applications in less than 2 weeks. And that's what I find so encouraging is it's clear the American people are behind President Trump and these officers. They have their backs, and they want to be a part of what's happening in this country by making it safe again. So despite what, the fake news says, despite what the liberals and the socialists and the Marxists are parroting every single day out in their communities and to their supporters, it's just not true. The American people are so happy, and they're excited about the fact that the rule of law is going to apply to everybody, and that Americans and citizens who follow the law should be prioritized, and that President Trump is doing exactly that. So to have that many applications means that we're going to hire the best of the best, and individuals who have experience can get qualified for their ICE badge as soon as possible and hit the streets so that they can make sure that these families get to live safely again.
I'm going to get there, but you're going to be shocked at what you just heard juxtaposed against what the facts are here. But a Daily Mail investigation says the frantic push has produced recruits who have gone on to allegedly attack civilians and sexually assault female trainees, and others who can barely read or write. One case reportedly included a 469-pound man whose own doctor had already declared him unfit for physical activity. Not fit for service, just unfit for physical activity. And no, I know what you're thinking. That 469-pound recruit was not Donald Trump. Keep your pants on. Anything that they think may have a pulse, they're moving through, one unnamed DHS official was quoted saying. Vetting has allegedly been so rushed that the Mail reports recruits were flown to a training base in Glencoe, Georgia, before drug test results came back, only for some to test positive after they were already in training. One trainee reportedly asked to leave class to attend a court date on a gun charge. Others were found to have tattoos linked to gangs and white supremacist groups when they stripped down for workouts. The Mail investigation comes after the Daily Beast reported last month that insiders felt the recruitment drive had become a full-blown shit show, with Noam's job at risk as a result. The Mail report says the disaster has come about because ICE slashed standards to meet President Trump's target of 10,000 new recruits, dangling signing and retention bonuses of up to $50,000 that DHS touts on its recruitment site and job postings. Applicants no longer need a college degree and can now be as young as 18 years old, while the Trump administration scrapped the upper age limit entirely in August. According to internal figures cited by the outlet, hundreds of brand new hires with no law enforcement background have been rushed into the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, FLETC, in Brunswick, Georgia, alongside older rehires pushed into desk jobs. Instructors at the Georgia Academy were left astounded as some trainees who can barely read or write English bombed open book exams and struggled to complete basic physical training. One incredulous DHS source told The Beast, a 469-pound recruit? Are they going to roll him down a hill? And then finally here, discipline problems have followed. The Mail describes one 29-year-old recruit being arrested off-site after allegedly exploding at a FLETC bus driver and smashing his phone. Another man was accused of barging into a woman's dorm after a night at the bar, while a second allegedly groped a female trainee during defensive tactics class. This is our Department of Homeland Security. These are the people who are masked and refuse to identify themselves in your community, kidnapping migrants and citizens alike off the street with no due process. This is it. 469-pound turds, illiterate idiots, people who are groping women trainees in training. People with gun charges and gang tattoos and Nazi-affiliated rhetoric on their bodies. Good job. Sean Hannity promoting Kristi Noem, who's following through on the orders of our white supremacist president. Good job. Incompetence is now in vogue in Donald Trump's administration. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. If you have any federal law enforcement background, I'd love to hear from you. Generally, what are your thoughts? It's about the intent behind it. It's about the white supremacy agenda behind it. It's about the soft assault on black folks in this country, that you're not important. I think over the years, I've probably shed the segment of my audience that acted like I was an alarmist about racism, about white supremacy, about anti-black propaganda in America. I think they're gone because they were like, this guy talks about race too much. He's too much of a social justice warrior. And I would say to them, they're not here because they left a long time ago, that if you think denigrating or using pejorative terms, if you use social justice warrior as an insult, you can fuck straight off. No need to bleep, producer Chris. No need to bleep that. If you believe social justice is a fool's errand, you can fuck straight off. Now that I've chastised the segment of the audience that is not here to hear me chastise them, let me talk about the latest. Let me talk about this. It is not a coincidence that Donald Trump is trying to erase photos of black military members, that he's attacking the African American History and Culture Museum right here in Washington, D.C., sending back facts that were on loan from individuals, just giving them back to him because, we're not gonna show any of this stuff. It's an attack on black excellence. It's an attack on black contributions to our culture, to our science, to our nation, to humanity. And now they're attacking black adjacent holidays, black specific holidays that we celebrate that are federal holidays within the National Park Service. There's certain days where you get to go in for free because it's a federal holiday. 4th of July, all these holidays. MLK Day was one. Juneteenth was another. Both are federal holidays. And now, nope, no longer registered as special enough to rate. This is white supremacy. This is the soft assault on black people in the country. That's what this particular thing is. It's the soft assault. Not the hard assault, like firing military members because they're black. Not that. This is more subtle than that. And these are the things we need to keep our eye on to when we're compiling our list of all the white supremacy agenda items of Donald Trump. Just add this to that list. This is from the San Francisco Gate. National Parks change prioritizes Trump's birthday over days honoring black people. Free entrance days at national parks no longer include MLK Day and Juneteenth. The Donald Trump administration has changed which holidays qualify for free entrance to national parks, removing 2 holidays celebrating black people and adding the president's birthday. Yeah. So the man who promoted the racist conspiracy, the lie that Obama, our first black president, wasn't qualified to be president because he wasn't born here, that he was born in Africa, in Kenya, is now removing Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday as a holiday in federal parks, removing Juneteenth, the day that officially slavery ended in the United States. After Texas, there were some holdouts, people were owning human beings as property after the fact, and they finally got the message there. That's Juneteenth, the way I understand the holiday. And Donald Trump's going to put his own fucking birthday above those days. Yeah. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is an annual federal holiday that happens to be on the 3rd Monday of January, close to the civil rights leader January 15th birthday. Historically, it's been the first fee-free day of the year for national parks, which waive interest fees several days a year. Now, visitors to the 116 parks that charge entrance fees will no longer get in for free on MLK Day or on Juneteenth, a federal holiday on June 19th that celebrates the end of slavery in the United States. They will, however, allow you free entrance into the park on Trump's June 14th birthday, which was added to the list this year. Parks charge admission fees that range from $3 to $30, according to the National Park Service. Look, this isn't about the injustice of having to pay the $3 to $30 to get into a park. It's not about that. It's about the intent behind it. It's about the white supremacy agenda behind it. It's about the soft assault on black folks in this country, that you're not important. You're not worthy of celebration. You're not worthy of inclusion. That's what this is about. This is pernicious. This is neo-Nazi bullshit. And we all should be outraged at everything big and small when it comes to equality and equity and inclusion in our country. This policy shift is deeply concerning, said Tyree Moore, the executive director of Soul Track Outdoors, a nonprofit that connects urban communities of color to the outdoors. Removing free entry days on MLK Day and Juneteenth sends a troubling message about who our national parks are for. These holidays hold profound cultural and historical significance for black communities, and eliminating them as access points feels like a direct targeting of the very groups who already face systemic barriers to the outdoors. Look, that is true. This is a direct targeting. Adding Donald Trump's goofy fucking birthday and taking out Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Juneteenth, that's by design, folks. Other free entrance days in 2026 include President's Day, Washington's birthday, Memorial Day, Independence Day weekend, the 110th birthday of the National Park Service, Constitution Day, Theodore Roosevelt's birthday. He's largely credited with the development of the national park system, and Veterans Day. Along with MLK Day and Juneteenth, National Public Lands Day, and the anniversary of the Great American Outdoors Act were also removed. So they are relegating two major federal holidays with a couple of days that are recognized by national parks that no one's ever heard of. The Great American Outdoors Act, National Public Lands Day. Those aren't federal holidays. Those are kitschy little, like hot dog day or cookie day or pumpkin pie day or whatever. And then finally here, the Department of Interior, I always want to give them a chance to respond. The Department of the Interior and the National Park Service, of course, did not respond to questions about why MLK Day is no longer included. Because they're cowards who are led by a coward. Look, you're in service to fascism when you work in this government. Unless you're putting up a fight, unless you're actually giving a statement, we got to be quiet. No. It's going to take so long to roll back the damaging impacts that Donald Trump has brought against our country, this assault on our country. And look, if you're out there and you're white, again, I'm going to hear YouTube videos click off all over the world here. You'll be among the people who stopped listening because they thought I was a conspiracy theorist about white supremacy in this country. If you're out there and you're like, well, this doesn't really impact me because I don't care about MLK Day. I'm not black. Juneteenth doesn't mean anything to me because my ancestors were never slaves. You need to start thinking about looking at the world through a lens with a little bit of empathy, because it's black people now, but fascism always needs an enemy. And once they vanquish their enemies, they'll be looking for a new enemy, and you might be on that list. Anyway, what do you think? I appreciate your feedback, and I look forward to it in the comments.
Listen, I was paid in the past, Sean, for my opinions. That's clear. And one day I'll be back in that space. But that's not what I'm paid for now. I'm paid to be your deputy director, and we base investigations on facts.
All right, I was going to end it on that last video, but I just... This whole refrain, I talked about it earlier with Kash Patel, that this is becoming some kind of a sick joke. This is like a goof, I think I said. That we've got two people running the FBI, Kash Patel, just a marionette for Donald Trump, and Dan Bongino, a conspiracy theory podcaster. He's like vying. Once Alex Jones lost his footing, Dan Bongino took up the mantle to be that guy. And Dan Bongino was on with Hannity yesterday, just doing the same thing that Kash Patel's been doing, taking his victory lap about their arrest of this guy that they claim is the Capitol bomber, that they really haven't given us any evidence for yet. We'll see. I want a conviction in that case desperately. But, I want the right person caught. I don't want them to put up a patsy and then have the actual Capitol bomber out there being a potential danger to the country. And Dan Bongino said some things that are maybe more insane than Kash Patel said on his victory lap moments. The one being the fact that Donald Trump hates crime, and crime it makes him crazy. It drives him crazy. Which is, that was an involuntary scratch. Not like I was like, that's weird. But is he fucking kidding me? Our president, who's been convicted of felonies of 34 counts, felony counts, hates crime. Our president, who has pardoned going on 2,000 people, many for fraud and drug trafficking, crimes with involving nearly $2 billion worth of defrauding veterans and elderly people. Donald Trump hates crime as he is a criminal every single day that he's in office. Get out of here, dude. Anyway, watch this and just marvel in the absolute arrogance to say something like this with a straight face. Dan Bongino on Hannity.
Drives around these. What do you think he's doing this for? You think he's doing it to get reelected? You think he's doing it for politics? These are blue cities. He hates crime. He can't. It drives him crazy, and he wants it solved. And Cash and I are committed to doing it.
Well, I'm grateful, and I know many other Americans are grateful to the team and everybody that you mentioned. Dan,
And look, this is what happens when you put these people in charge. People who are so stupid as to say something like this that is just so patently ridiculous. Even Republicans would hear that and be like, that's a tough pill to swallow. But this is why you need someone who has a rational understanding, a reality view of the world, who deals with reality that we share on that very reality's terms. Because this other clip I'm getting ready to show you, it's an exchange between Hannity, where Hannity shows him a tweet that he tweeted, and it's like, yeah, listen, that was my old job when I was a podcaster. But now, and the but does a lot of heavy lifting. The but explains, maybe I'll explain it after the clip. No, the but explains the difference between the two. Yeah, that's something I did back then, but now I'm the assistant director of the FBI, and we have to deal in facts. Meaning, the thing before he didn't deal in facts, that he's a liar. It's the same thing, going back to the Alex Jones reference. I'm glad I said that, because Alex Jones did the same thing in court. Oh, no, this is all entertainment. No. You don't take me seriously. I'm not a serious character. Dan Bongino is doing the same thing, except now he's not some dipshit podcaster like me. He's not an idiot on YouTube like me. He was. Now he's a dipshit and an idiot as the deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Watch this and marvel at these two morons not even getting an inkling of that what they're saying is just out of this world.
you know, I don't know if you remember this. This is before you became the deputy FBI director. You put a post on X right after this happened. And you said there's a massive cover-up because the person that planted those pipe bombs, they don't want you to know who it is because it's either a connected anti-Trump insider or an inside job. You said that, you know, long before you were even thought of as deputy FBI director.
Yeah, that's why I said to you, this investigation's just begun. We are pretty comfortable. We have our guy. I think as again, legal process starts to surface and information and facts start to come out, the public's going to be very comfortable with the investigation that was conducted under Director Patel and his leadership. He's been great on this. But I don't want to, you know, listen, I was paid in the past, Sean, for my opinions. That's clear. And one day I'll be back in that space. But that's not what I'm paid for now. I'm paid to be your deputy director. And we base investigations on facts. And, you know, it was interesting. I was looking out in the crowd today at the presser, and I saw a couple of media figures who you and I both know who promoted the other scandal, the collusion hoax. And I thought to myself, you know, the difference between us and them is, you know, we evolve. As information and new inputs come out, we can produce different outputs because that's what we believe in. We believe in facts and investigations guided by facts. There were people out there in that crowd, I'm sure still believe in this collusion fairy tale hoax. So we'll see. We're going to be guided by the facts as this thing goes forward. And I can't stop the, you know, leave the truck here without thanking the president. The president.
You know, this is an aside and it's an invective. It's just a slam against what the guy's head shape is. But I'm no phrenologist, but you would think he'd be smarter with the size of the upper part of his dome, right? There's a lot of brain that can fit in there. It must be just a real thick skull that is protecting a tiny, very desperate brain. But you heard him say it. I was paid in the past for my opinions, but I'm paid to be your deputy director, and we base investigations on facts. Shouldn't you base the things that you say as a disseminator of information and opinion even, shouldn't they be based on facts? I know I do. For about an hour a day, I talk about the news and I analyze and break down the news based on my understanding of the world, based on the words of the Constitution of the United States, based on facts. Now, do I get it wrong? Yeah, but we're all human. We get shit wrong, right? But I base it on facts. I base it on an argument that can be made, not wild conspiracies that I'm picking out of the air. That's why I drop the phone number at the end of every single video and my email address. And I encourage you for dissent in the comments, because let's have a conversation. If I'm wrong, convince me I'm wrong. But if I was made the deputy director of the FBI tomorrow, I wouldn't take the job because I'm not going to work for a fucking fascist like Trump. But if they made me into some job that I'm clearly unqualified for, just like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, wildly unqualified, I would still use the same rigor that I use in this job at that job. The fact that he is so flippant about his past job that's not based on facts should be a red flag to all of the people who were in his audience. Like, wait a minute, I thought you were giving us facts. No? Huh, I guess I got duped. I guess I'm a rube who got duped by a moron with a pea brain. What's that say about MAGA world as he rambles on and on about how we change when the facts change? No, you don't, dipshit. No, you don't. Anyway, what do you think about Alex Jones Jr. here? I'd love your opinion. You can talk about it in the comments below. As always, dissent, dissent, dissent. Tell me how I'm wrong. Make an argument. Change my mind. I sound like fucking Steven Crowder. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please consider, I'll end it with this. Marching into the weekend. Consider $2 a month to help support this channel, to help fund the work that we do here. I would appreciate it very much. You can click the join button below this video and become a channel member on YouTube. You can go to my Patreon page, even better, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast, $2 a month, and you can help support the work. If you're on retirement or disability or a fixed income, or you just don't have financial independence right now, I don't want your support monetarily. I don't want it. I've had people say, don't tell me what you do with my money. That's fine. You can do what you want, but I don't want it. You can like this video. You can comment on this video. You could share this video, and make sure you're subscribed. Those things are awesome, but you need to take care of yourself, especially in an economy like this that Donald Trump has trashed. Take care of yourself. If you find yourself I'm going to keep talking about it. If you find yourself in a situation where money's tight, cancel your membership on YouTube. Cancel your Patreon. It's not just me saying it. I seriously, take care of yourself. I'm more concerned about our community that we've built around this show than about a few dollars on YouTube. So anyway, take care of yourself. Take care of everybody else. Be genuine. The things I say at the end of every video. Have a great weekend. I love you guys. Be genuine. Take care of one another. The White House tweeted this yesterday. Daddy's home. I put together my versions of Donald Trump's Daddy's home. How about this one? So I went to bed, like I do always, kind of looking for stories to talk about the next day. Oftentimes I just wake up in the morning and figure out what I'm going to talk about. But I ran across this particular tweet from Marco Rubio that was retweeting the Department of State. The Department of State tweet is, this morning, the State Department renamed the former Institute of Peace to reflect the greatest deal maker in our nation's history. Welcome to the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. The best is yet to come. And obsequious, ass-kissing, boot-licking lapdog, a useful idiot, our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, retweeted this and said, President Trump will be remembered by history as the president of peace. It's time our State Department display that. One, The Congress, the United States Congress, created the Institute of Peace, and Donald Trump does not have the authority to rename the institution. And this is defacement of the building. This is vandalism of the building. It is interesting to me, and we're going to start here today because of the wild nature of these cowards in our government. People like Marco Rubio, who at one point went hard against Donald Trump, calling him what he is, a con artist. Don't forget that that's who these people are. They called it correctly. Lindsey Graham said, if we elect Donald Trump, he will destroy our party and we'll deserve it. Ted Cruz, the same kind of a thing, calling him a bully and a coward, and now laps at the boots of that bully and coward because he himself is a bully and a coward. And Marco Rubio. Never forget, this is the Marco Rubio who's now wanting you to believe that Donald Trump is the president of peace and will be remembered that way by history.
There is no way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and Donald Trump is a con artist.
Donald Trump is a con artist.
He's a con man. I think it's time to unmask him for what he is. A con man who's taking advantage of people's fears and anxieties about the future, portraying himself as some sort of strong guy. He's not a strong guy.
He doesn't sweat. He doesn't sweat because his pores are clogged from the spray tan that he uses.
You all have friends that are thinking about voting for Donald Trump. Friends, do not let friends vote for con artists.
We're about to turn over the conservative movement to a person that has no ideas of any substance on the important issues, the nuclear codes of the United States, to an erratic individual.
So we cannot allow the conservative movement to be taken over by a con artist.
How can the nominee of the Republican Party, of the party of Lincoln, the party of Reagan, the party of hope, and the party of optimism nominate someone who refuses to criticize the Ku Klux Klan or distance himself from an avowed racist like David Duke?
The party of Lincoln and Reagan and the presidency of the United States will never be held by a con artist. Guys, we have a con artist as the front runner in the Republican Party. A guy who has made a career out of telling people lies.
He's always calling me Little Marco. And I don't think that he's taller than me, he's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? They're like this. And you know what they say about men with small hands? You can't trust them. You can't trust them. You can't trust them.
These people with zero integrity, zero shame, zero dignity, no shamelessness whatsoever. They are trying to structurally alter our nation, our culture, just our country generally. They're attempting to reshape our media and the press and journalism. The Pentagon press pool is now just Laura Loomer and the dipshit James O'Keefe from the Project Veritas, Matt Gaetz, just a bunch of conspiracy theorists and liars. They're not journalists by even a stretch of a definition of that. And while all this is taking place, Donald Trump wants to be known as the president of peace, while there are allegations of war crimes. Donald Trump wants to be known as the president of peace, while governing by meme, by owning the libs and being an idiot on Twitter. The White House tweeted this yesterday: "Daddy's home." Daddy's home, huh? I put together my versions of Donald Trump's daddy's home. How about this one? Seems more apropos of daddy being home as he lusts after his daughter over multiple reports after multiple reports over multiple years that Donald Trump has waxed lustfully about what it would be like to have sex with his daughter. He's been on morning shows talking about the only thing he and Ivanka have in common is sex. And that perhaps, if she weren't his daughter, he'd be dating her, and we all know what that means. If that lustful picture of Donald Trump isn't the right angle, here's another one. And if that doesn't do it for you, how about this little ditty? Daddy's home for the holidays and his pal. He's bringing somebody to dinner, everybody. Or maybe my favorite, the road guard vest. I don't know what you call those orange vests. In the Marine Corps, we call them road guard vests. And if that doesn't do it for you, Daddy's home for the holidays and he's here to take a nap. Look, I get criticized for making jokes in moments like this, but if in the midst of existential dread and crisis, if you don't have it within you to laugh about the situation, you'll only have misery, and I refuse. There is a lot of fight ahead of us. Obviously, they are trying to destroy and structurally alter our country, and it's going to take all of us to get involved in the political process, unlike any other time in our lives. That it's more important now than ever. You need to get involved with the campaign. Go knock doors. Go canvass for a campaign. Volunteer. If you don't have the time or the energy, if you have money, donate to a campaign. It's going to take voting, to be sure, but more than voting to defeat these ghouls, these absolutely rudderless assholes who only want proximity to power. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think. We can comment below the video.
If a lower level service member provided that level of information before the launches of manned aircraft with pilots inside those cockpits, that service member would have been court-martialed and discharged.
Our fascist authoritarian government under Donald Trump does not want accountability. They do not want to be held accountable for their crimes or even alleged crimes. We're learning that Pete Hegseth, not only did he refuse to sit for an interview with the Department of Defense's IG, Inspector General, looking into the Signal Gate, the instance where Pete Hegseth shared top secret war plans with an unauthorized journalist on a Signal chat on his personal phone. We are learning all kinds of details about this, and it just opens up the floodgates of those who might have been possibly questioning whether or not this is fascism, and they're now realizing, oh shit, these people don't want accountability. They want a shroud of secrecy, which is why they've structurally altered the makeup of the press pool at the Pentagon. They want only their propaganda disseminated. Here is a tweet from Kyle, not a tweet, it's on Blue Sky, but yeah, they're all tweets, right? He's retweeted himself doing reporting here for NBC. Breaking now on MS Now, the Signalgate report contradicts Pete Hegseth's claim that he did nothing wrong. It showed he, quote, violated policy by using a non-approved device, a source who read the report says. Hegseth failed to preserve records. The report says, and this is very important, more important than the fact that he wouldn't sit for an interview with the IG. The report says he put the operations and service people at risk. He risked the lives of the troops that he is always acting as though he loves and he supports the troops and it's all about the troops and their welfare, giving them all the latitude they need to commit all the war crimes that he charges them with. Kyle Griffin, this was obviously a repost. More breaking on MS Now. Pete Hegseth refused an interview request for the Pentagon Inspector General's investigation into Signalgate, according to two sources who read and were briefed on the report. Hegseth would not turn over his phone, a source who read the report told MS Now. MS Now, come on. You couldn't come up with a better name than that. Anyway, listen, I want to get us all on the same page. So I'm going to play a brief segment of a reporter talking about exactly what is going on here from PBS NewsHour. And then we'll talk about this and break it down in detail on the other side.
So this is an investigation by the Department of Defense's Inspector General, mandated by Congress. It took him months. And according to a person who has read this document, the Inspector General found that the messages that the Secretary transmitted were, quote, secret, no foreign. The definition of that classification level is that unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause serious damage to national security, and it can't be shared with foreigners. And the Inspector General went on to say, If those messages had been intercepted, it would have endangered U.S. service members and the mission. And the reason the Inspector General has concluded this is that Hegseth was, as you just said, narrating or really previewing upcoming strikes into Yemen against Houthi rebel leaders on a Signal chat, where Atlantic editor-in-chief and Washington Week moderator Jeffrey Goldberg had been accidentally added. And the detail was extraordinary. Times, the types of weapons, exactly who was going to be flying toward Yemen, exactly when. And they concluded, quote, "We are currently clean on OPSEC, short for operational security." A former senior military official told me this, Jeff, today, and this was just echoed by the Senate Armed Services Committee top Democrat Jack Reed, that if a lower-level service member provided that level of information before the launches of manned aircraft with pilots inside those cockpits, that service member would have been court-martialed and discharged.
How is the Pentagon responding to all of this?
The Pentagon points to other results inside the Inspector General's findings, including these. The Secretary can declassify anything as he sees fit. And that suggests that Secretary Hegseth's defense is that what he was writing, he was declassifying essentially as he wrote it. The Inspector General also said the Secretary provided a small handful of signal messages to the IG, but not others. Hegseth declined an interview with the Inspector General, and he informed the Inspector General that he considers this investigation completely partisan. And Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell provided this statement, quote, "The Inspector General review is a total exoneration of Secretary Hegseth and proves what we knew all along. No classified information was shared. This matter is resolved, and the case is closed." By the way, the Inspector General also concluded, Jeff, that Hegseth violated policy by using his personal device for these Signal chats rather than a government phone.
All right, now that we've got the facts, we've laid out the case here. Joining me to talk about this is Adam Gurry, the founder and editor of Liberal Currents, an amazing independent news outlet that you should really check out. Adam Gurry, thank you for joining me to talk about this. With the rise of fascism in the United States and the attempts to really leave the United States at the very least anemic and maybe necrotic, what are your takeaways from this story?
It's just sort of an exemplar of the way that the administration approaches running the executive branch. They talk this big game about how they're rooting out, DEI and sort of ideologically motivated reasons for hiring and just focusing on pure merit. In one case, someone who works at the State Department famously said, "You just need competent white men running things." But you have Pete Hegseth, who has no qualifications for his job whatsoever. Essentially, is just a talking head that Trump likes. And even if he has, in theory, the authority to declassify things, he does not have the authority to determine which devices are okay to send official communication over. Nor does he have the authority to circumvent, the record-keeping requirements of the federal government. Like there's a number of things he does not have. Even if he could declassify things at will, which I think is questionable. There's just he's just a sloppy guy who just wanted to communicate in the easiest way that exists to communicate. And the end result is what we saw. And that's pretty much their governance style overall. Something I think people forget is with the Nazis, the Night of the Long Knives was not killing minorities or Jews. It was killing people like Pete Hegseth, essentially to show the military that they were serious about being a serious military under the Third Reich. But for better or for worse, Pete Hegseth, they may get rid of him. If they did, though, who they replace him with, I doubt it would be a higher caliber person. That's just who's in the orbit. And that's just who they're interested in. Because the number one thing that Donald Trump is interested in is personalism, people who have personal loyalty to him more than competence.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up fascism and Hitler in the 30s, the previous century, because it seems it's interesting to me that the playbook of fascism is just being rolled out step by step by step. You know, the 14th defining characteristics of fascism, that militarism, and there's so many aspects of it that are just on brand for what's taking place right now. Are you surprised at all that, I mean, one, we're lucky that their incompetence is slowing the march of fascism, but are you surprised at all that there's no attempt at all to even hide or mask what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised because of who they are, but I think that it works against them. Someone in our little orbit of liberal currents once put it that they often seem to act as if they're in the last stage of authoritarian consolidation and not the very first,
Right.
and that really does not help them. You have to get all your ducks in a row to really do this, and they very much do not. So as you say, it's to our benefit. It's still terrible because it will result in lost lives and, you know, people getting hurt and things like that. But in terms of just sheer odds that we're going to succeed in pushing them back, it is good in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned liberal currents. Tell me a little bit, and by extension, I guess, tell the audience about your publication. And you've got a fundraiser right now.
Yes.
I highly recommend Liberal Currents. I have a lot of friends who are in the know, who are wonky policy types, but also people who are just generally passionate about politics and the current situation we find ourselves in. So I guess I jumped ahead and gave you the endorsement, but tell us about Liberal Currents and the fundraiser for your independent media organization.
Yeah, so Liberal Currents, we've been around since 2017. We launched in direct response to the beginning of the Trump era. From the beginning, the idea was that liberalism had started resting on its laurels. A lot of its values had just become assumed, and not really a lot of people who cared about those things had sort of forgotten why they should, and that put our enemies at an advantage. So the beginning was mostly just articulating the basic rationales behind liberal principles. But as the Trump era proceeded, we certainly recognized that we needed to be doing more than that. So we started looking at bigger views of how this happened, what's happening worldwide, what they have in common ideologically, how things have been resisted before, what movements succeed, what movements fail, and why. So there's things down at the very tactical level and things at the very strategic. And in the last year and a half, we've gotten very nitty gritty. Within a couple of days of the election last year, we published a piece essentially laying out all of the institutional tools that exist for Democrats that control any jurisdiction, whether from the very local to the state level, to sandbag the federal government if they need to, just to slow it down and delaying action to get us through to 2028. So we're writing at that level. We're writing at the level of diagnosis and philosophy. And we're just a general opposition to fascism at this particular moment, but also providing a vision for a liberal future publication. And the fundraiser is in order to give us a chance to really increase our reach in the media ecosystem, which, in my opinion, has tremendously failed, especially this year. In terms
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So for sure. Well, listen, I absolutely endorse your publication. And I think everybody, if you've got $2, $3, $4, $5 or more, if Daddy Warbucks is out there and wants to fund the organization, independent media is under threat right now in this country. And that's by design for the Trump administration and these fascists. So out there, if you've got a few dollars and you want to support something that absolutely is moving the needle and giving people the ammunition, rhetorically speaking, giving people the resources, the motivation, how to organize, what to do, and exactly the lay of the land. Liberal Currents is what it is, liberalcurrents.com. And also the GoFundMe, which we will find in the pinned comment below and also in the description of this video. Adam Gurry, thank you so much for your expertise and your fight for the country.
Thank you so much.
Another admiral And this guy was forced to retire. And not even a guy who was opposed to the policies, opposed to taking action against the cartels from a military standpoint. With all of the absolute chaos in the Pentagon that was absolutely expected, it's not a surprise, it's not shocking at all that we have a dysfunctional military with an overgrown toddler running it, Pete Hegseth. It is absolutely apropos when Mark Kelly describes him as a 12-year-old bouncing around on stage, not doing his job, just posting memes all day rather than doing the important, clearly wildly important work of this defense secretary. But what they're doing is a purge of anybody competent, at anybody who has any moral compass whatsoever. And that is the case here with this bombshell reporting from the Wall Street Journal. Again, when a conservative outlet is calling balls and strikes like this, you know that there's no other way to spin this in the favor of Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. And I want to show you this headline here. We're going to block out the picture, play a little game here. Hegseth asked top admiral to resign after months of discord. Hegseth, another admiral, another general level rank in the military. I don't know what everybody knows about what ranks are. So it's, a general and an admiral. They're at the same level, the top levels. And this guy was forced to retire. And not even a guy who was opposed to the policies, opposed to taking action against the cartels from a military standpoint. What do you think? What are the chances that you guess what this guy looks like? You'll never guess what this guy looks like. All right, reveal it. Dun, dun. Yeah, of course, he's a black guy. Of course. Another black active duty, high-ranked, decades of experience and institutional knowledge was forced out by this white supremacist administration in Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, the white Christian nationalist. Another. This is part and parcel to the agenda of the Pentagon to erase the contributions of black Americans, of black military members, with all of the websites that are deleting thousands of pictures, evidence of black participation in the military. They want to erase the existence of black and brown people in this country. They want it to be an ethno-state. And they're starting with all kinds of facets all over the course of the executive branch of government, including the United States military, a military in which I served on active duty for years. Here's the rest of that headline. Again, Hegseth asked top admiral to resign after months of discord. Relationship between Pentagon chief and military leader had been deteriorating since Trump's inauguration. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shocked official Washington in mid-October when he announced that the four-star head of U.S. military operations in the Caribbean was retiring less than a year into his tenure. But according to two Pentagon officials, Hegseth asked Admiral Alvin Halsey to step down, a de facto ouster that was the culmination of months of discord between Hegseth and the officer. It began days after President Trump's inauguration in January and intensified months later when Halsey had initial concerns about the legality of lethal strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. Not long after, Hegseth announced that Halsey would be retiring. Hegseth's move, which hasn't been previously reported, sheds new light on a brewing controversy over the legality of the military's campaign in the Caribbean and raises questions over whether service members with concerns about the attacks are being listened to. While Hegseth has dismissed a number of high-ranking military leaders since taking over the Pentagon, the ouster of a commander during an unfolding military operation was an extraordinary move, lawmakers and experts note. Quote, having Halsey leave at this particular moment at the height of what the Pentagon considers to be the central action in our hemisphere is just shocking, said Todd Robinson, who served as Assistant Secretary for International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs until January. And of course, a Pentagon spokesman declined to comment. Now, there's more to this article that I want to read, but I want to talk about this. They are not just getting rid of They are not just EASing, end of service, end of active servicing. These individuals, because they are opponents of their agenda, opponents of their policies, because this is a guy, this Admiral Halsey, who was not opposed to action against drug cartels. It just so happens he didn't want to follow illegal orders and commit war crimes. Now, to his credit, he was right. To his credit, he would have been thrown under the fucking bus like the other dipshit was. Like the guy who actually carried out the illegal orders, committing a war crime against two individuals clinging for life on a burning wreckage of their vessel. And then the order was given, kill them all, by Pete Hegseth, who now denies it, even though on the 3rd of September, he was on Fox News bragging about the operation that took place on the 2nd of September. Did I say December? September. And was saying, yeah, I watched it live. But this Halsey guy isn't an opponent of doing this. Here's more from the article. The Admiral, a 60-year-old Navy helicopter pilot nicknamed Bull, had seemed a good fit to carry out Trump's military campaign against drug traffickers after the new president came into office. Halsey voiced support. Let me repeat that. Halsey voiced support for stepping up interdiction of drug shipments and had experience at such missions. Quote, my first deployment to the Southcom area of responsibility was over 33 years ago, conducting counter-drug missions, he told lawmakers at his Senate confirmation hearing in September 2024, arguing for a more muscular approach to, quote, dismantle the drug cartels responsible for tens of thousands of American deaths. He wasn't an enemy of this proposal. He's an enemy of enemies of the Constitution, as he should be. He followed his oath. He's an enemy of war crimes. He's an enemy of following unlawful, illegal orders that were given, while they're talking about dragging Mark Kelly back to active duty to punish him, to bust him down in rank, to diminish his pension, his reward, what is owed to him for his decades and decades of service. Back to the article. Originally from rural Georgia, Halsey led a carrier strike group and, during Trump's first term, served as the first commander an international naval flotilla charged with protecting commercial shipping in the Persian Gulf and neighboring waters after Iran began seizing oil tankers in the area. So this is a guy with a wide breadth of experience as a commander in all kinds of different positions. They are culling from the Pentagon decades of institutional knowledge here. It is a danger to our military. It is a danger to troops. And I believe it's chiefly because he's black, and then secondarily because he didn't want to commit the war crimes. A few weeks after he took over Southern Command, Halsey met with the newly confirmed Hegseth on a secure video conference and received his marching orders. And you will not be surprised by these marching orders. You're either on the team or you're not, Hegseth told Halsey. According to notes from a participant, quote, when you get an order, you move out fast and don't ask questions. That is exactly what Hegseth wants. And that's what he got in Admiral Bradley, the guy they're now throwing under the bus, who will likely be in some trouble because of his decision to follow through with the war crime orders from murderer Donald Trump and murderer Pete Hegseth. Kill them all, remember? Anyway, all of this is absolutely still developing. We are going to be following this. This is why the midterms are so important. This is why we need a wild majority in the House of Representatives, followed by, in a company with, at the same time, a majority in the Senate. But a big majority we're going to need, because we need to get impeachment through, remove Pete Hegseth, remove Donald Trump. We need to remove these individuals who are so willing to sell us out and destroy everything, the credibility of the United States even. And it's going to take impeachment, which takes a lot to actually get impeachment through the trial, the conviction, the removal, and then a subsequent vote to forbid them from running for office ever again. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it.
Because we had stupid people running our country. We had a lot of stupid people running. That's why we have $38 trillion in debt. But the beautiful thing about the tariffs is we'll start paying off that debt. The money coming in, they're finding money in our country now that they never knew existed.
Look, I know we talk about projection a lot in independent media, in progressive circles, that the Republican Party is absolutely just the party of whatever they're guilty of, they blame Democrats for. But Donald Trump seems to be regressing to a place in his cognitive cesspool of a brain, cognitive declining cesspool of a brain, that is extra projection. more than the first term, more than even last night. Every day is just more and more and more of it. And yesterday he went on this rant in the Oval Office when asked a question about the tariff shelf, and he got $30 billion and no one knew where the money came from. And he told them, go check the tariff shelf. And then they said, no, that's not a thing. And then 2 days later, they called back and said, sir, oh my God, sir, you're right. It is a thing. And I found this is where the money came from. Like, none of this makes any sense. And he starts rambling about we had stupid people running our country, and that's why we have a $38 trillion debt, completely ignoring that he added 40% to the national debt in just 4 years during his first term. He's responsible for between 7.8 and $8.4 trillion in debt added to our national debt after saying he would pay off the entire national debt in 8 years. And we're on track again to add another $8 trillion after this 4 years. During a time of what should be economic boom times, they're paying off billionaires, making billionaires trillionaires through tax cuts, and then saying that we're run by stupid people who add money to the debt. What? Watch this from yesterday. Try to make sense of what this fucking moron is spewing.
Because we had stupid people running our country. We had a lot of stupid people running. That's why we have $38 trillion in debt. But the beautiful thing about the tariffs is we'll start paying off that debt. The money coming in, they're finding money in our country now that they never knew existed. The other day, $30 billion. Where did it come from? I said, why don't you check the tariff shelf? They said, sir, that tariff hasn't started yet. It doesn't start till January. I said, no, it started 2 months ago. They called back, sir, you're right, it was from tariffs. No, we have a whole different country. I hope the Supreme Court, I pray that the Supreme Court understands the importance of the sensible, really, I mean, this would be country threatening if something happened with regard to that. You know, the people that brought that case are bad people. They're very bad people. They hate our country. They represent foreign countries.
Projection, projection, projection. We have been run by stupid people. That is correct, Donald Trump. From 2017 until January 20th at noon in 2021, we were led by a stupid person who absolutely added massive amounts of debt to the tally, to the growing tally of debt in the United States. This is from ProPublica. Donald Trump built a national debt so big, even before the pandemic, that it'll weigh down the economy for years. The national debt has risen by almost, this, by the way, this article was written January 2021, right around a week, 6 days or 7 days before Donald Trump left office, before his inauguration. This was, I think, the 14th of January. I don't have the front page of the article here, but this was at the end of the first term, so there was no more money. These are accurate figures. The national debt has risen by almost $7.8 trillion. That's $7,800 billion, not million. $7,800 billion. And we got $30 billion from the tariff shelf. Great. $7.8 trillion during Trump's time in office. That's nearly twice as much as what Americans owe on student loans, car loans, credit cards, and every other type of debt other than mortgages combined. All Americans' credit card debt, auto loans, student loans, and all other debt other than mortgages Combined, Donald Trump added that to the national debt while having the temerity or idiocy banging around in his empty dome to talk about stupid people adding to the national debt. As though we're not going to look it up, as though we don't remember his first term in office. Just because you don't remember your first term in office, Grandpa, doesn't mean we do not remember it. The growth in the annual deficit under Trump ranks as the third biggest increase relative to the size of the economy of any U.S. presidential administration. And unlike George W. Bush and Abraham Lincoln, who oversaw the larger relative increases in deficits, Trump did not launch 2 foreign conflicts or have to pay for a civil war. It was times of production. It was times of a good economy. Remember? America's back. It's a golden age. These same things they're saying now, they were saying then, and we still racked up all of this debt. There was no war on terror. There was not wars in 2 theaters going on. There wasn't a civil war. It was peace and prosperity in the American economy. And they added nearly $8,000 billion. So tell me again about the stupid people, Donald Trump. Here, maybe if we put it in the form of your IQ test, you'll be able to figure it out. That's a lion. That's a tiger. That's a horse. Here's a giraffe. Oh, there's a duck. Maybe you can figure it out then, big boy. And then the people that brought the case are bad people. They're very bad people. They hate our country. They represent foreign countries. Says the unregistered foreign agent, Donald Trump, who just happens to be the president of the United States, taking in money hand over fist to enrich himself during this second term. Ugh, enough. We get it. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments. Please comment below. You can also call the voicemail line. Leave me a brief. Please keep them brief. Voicemail 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me. daily@dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work, helping produce these videos with me. You can do so for $2 a month. Click the join button below the video on YouTube to become a channel member, or even better, I should start with this, even better, go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt-podcast.
The Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country. And all they do is complain, complain, complain. You have her. She's always talking about the Constitution provides me with, go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution.
The shift to open white supremacy and talking points being just delivered from the Oval Office of the White House is a new thing. It used to be like whisper, 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 or on secret calls or private calls that you had Reagan calling a delegation of African individuals monkeys and shocked that they wore shoes. Ronald Reagan said that. If I could find the audio, we'll play that here.
To see those monkeys from those African countries, damn them, they're still uncomfortable wearing shoes.
I don't know whether we play the audio because I haven't found it yet, but if we did, you just heard it. That was a private phone call. So racism is a second language. It's a native tongue of the sons of the Republican Party, to be sure. But the way that it has culminated in this modern era, or more modern than the 80s, I guess, is just open white supremacy. Things that used to be secretive, that you wouldn't want to say in mixed company, are now just broadcast live on TV. And Donald Trump's current rant against Somali migrants and Somali Americans, people who are citizens of this country, is just taken on a fever pitch. And so when you witness this clip that I'm getting ready to play, I want you to take note of the demographic makeup of the room, the fucking white clown car that is now the Oval Office of the White House. There's not a black or brown face to be seen. Oh, where are you? Whoa, just a bunch of white people chuckling, guffawing, laughing at Donald Trump's racism and white supremacy as he attacks a marginalized community, as he attacks members of Congress who have a Somali ethnicity, and saying they should be kicked out of the country. They shouldn't be allowed to represent, as citizens of the United States, a constituency in Congress. You got Ted Cruz. These people are ghouls. They are propping up and supporting Donald Trump, legitimizing him. He is America's Hitler. J.D. Vance was right. The Vice President of the United States of America was correct when he said that the man he now serves was America's Hitler. And here's just more evidence of it. This is gross. This is white power within this administration. White supremacy. But what would you expect? Anything different from the Republican Party? No. Watch this.
Mr. President, thank you. The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief.
Well, then he's a fool.
Well, his police chief is also saying.
I wouldn't be proud to have the largest Somalian. Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. Look, these Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud. She tries to deny it now, but you can't really deny it because, it just happened. She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. And she should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people, they have destroyed Minnesota, okay? Minnesota, you have an incompetent governor. You have a crooked governor. He's crooked as hell, but he's incompetent. Waltz he should be ashamed. That beautiful land, that beautiful state, it's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country. And all they do is complain, complain, complain. You have her. She's always talking about the Constitution provides me with, go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution. All she does is complain about this country. Without this country, she would not be in very good shape. She probably wouldn't be alive right now. So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon. I hope. But what Somalia and what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable. And a lot of it starts with the governor. A lot of it starts with Barack Hussein Obama, because that's when people started coming in. And you have to have people come in that are going to love our country, cherish our country. They want to kiss our country goodnight. They talk about our country. We want them to pray for our country. This is not the people living in Minnesota. And she's a disaster. She should not be, and her friends shouldn't be allowed. Frankly, they shouldn't even be allowed to be Congress people, okay? They shouldn't even be allowed to be Congress people because they don't represent the interests of our country. Anybody else?
Again, that's a white clown car. Just garbage humans standing around their dear leader, chuckling, laughing. It's so funny to watch this racist prattle on, saying things that are about negative things about Somalia and Somalians that just apply to America. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other, says the President of the United States, a man who leads a nation that leads the world in gun violence. Again, I will say it is crass, but it is true. There is no pile of dead children too high to push Republicans off of their support of weapons of war in the hands of maniacs killing our children in schools. We are a nation of people walking around killing each other. We're still a nation, Donald Trump. And that Ilhan Omar, a citizen of this country, shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman. And I'm sure people are looking at that. She's a citizen. Do you believe she's a second-class citizen? She does not hold the rights and privileges of every other native-born citizen, Donald Trump? Are there classes to citizenship? Am I less of a citizen than you? Two of us born here in the United States. Am I less of a citizen because I'm poorer than you, Donald Trump? Do you have more privilege in our society? You're a public servant, you racist fuck. It's a hellhole right now, says Donald Trump, speaking of a state within the borders of the United States. I thought Donald Trump made America great again. How could we possibly have a hellhole within the country after the country was made whole again, great again? And then finally, she's always talking about the Constitution. Oh, the Constitution provides me, and he can't think of anything, so he just moves on. Go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution. He's telling a United States citizen to go back to their country because they are Muslim and they are black and they are female. It's a trifecta of problematic issues for Donald Trump. And what do we do about this? How do we deal with this as an independent media individual, as someone who traffics in this news, talking about it and providing commentary of an analysis? What do we do when our main media sources, even ones that purport to be progressive or liberal or not conservative, psychotic, propaganda outlets like Fox News or News Nation for that matter, or Newsmax? Alex Tabet is this kid's name. He wants you to know in this MS Now reporting that, yeah, that's one way to look at things, the way you're talking about it, Jesse, that this is white supremacy, that it's just racism, that these people deserve dignity and to be dealt with equal protection under the law, whether they're citizens or not, whether they're documented or not, whether they're white, whether they're black. Yeah, you got a point there. But Alex Tabet would have you believe the president has a different view. Watch this.
Now, you heard Mayor Fry there say that the Somali American community has definitively made this community a better place. The president takes a different view, and the Somali diaspora here in Minnesota has been shrouded in controversy in recent years. It was recently found out that close to $1 billion have been stolen from Minnesota State Social Services and fraudulent schemes that were orchestrated in many instances by members of the Somali diaspora. But what Jacob Fry says is that the wrongdoings of individuals shouldn't result in a collective punishment. Anna?
Alex Tabet, thank you for that reporting.
Is white supremacy Alex Tabet? Is it a different view? It's just an alternative viewpoint. Yeah, they're humans, and they absolutely have the same rights under the Constitution as anybody else. They should be provided due process. They should be provided dignity. All of the rights and privileges that come along with being in our country, a country that is governed by the Constitution of the United States. But Donald Trump has a different view. It's called white supremacy. It's called racism. It's called bigotry. It's called xenophobia. It's called fear-mongering. It's called fucking fascism. It's not a different view. MSNBC or MS Now. Very disappointing. Look, I don't watch a lot of MSNBC or MS Now. I don't watch a lot of that. I don't watch a lot of news in general. But we deserve better than this. If you're a regular MS Now watcher, you should be firing off a tweet or a post on Blue Sky or emailing them, getting in their comments and letting them know on videos like this that what are you talking about? A different viewpoint. It's very fine people on both sides is what's happening now from MS Now. It's what's happening now. on MS Now. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation I believe is important. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it. You can go over to MS Now and comment on their videos.
This is a country with a culture, and we have a right to ask whether or not all cultures are compatible with the culture of America.
It's amazing when the Grand Wizard of the United... the President of the United States. He's not the Grand Wizard, right? He's the President. But when the Grand Wizard, President, breaks out the white supremacy and the bigotry and the xenophobia and the fear-mongering and the fascism, it is up to the media and his surrogates to make it normal, to regularize that in the minds and in the ears of Americans. They have to twist themselves in knots. And the only way to actually make what Donald Trump has been saying about his white supremacy views about Somalia and Somalians and United States citizens who have Somali ethnicity is to also become white power movement leaders. And Will Cain, you might not know who Will Cain is. God bless you if you don't know who this dipshit is. He used to be a B-team member of the Fox News family. He's now, I guess, a primetime player, has a show. And in this particular clip I'm getting ready to show you, it is remarkable that it is 2025, that we live in modernity. This isn't 1920 when the resurgence of the KKK happened and they marched down the streets of the city in which I sit right now, Washington, D.C., with their Make America Great Again banners and signs. No. It's not then. It's now. And Will Cain would have you believe, he's going to tell you in great detail here about how white culture is superior to other cultures. Look, can we just dispense with the fact that all cultures are equal, blah, blah, blah? It's white culture that accomplishes things. It's white people who do good things. And all those dirty black and brown people, they have subordinate cultures. I'm saying it in a weird voice and in slightly different words, but you tell me if you think I'm exaggerating. Watch White Power Will Cain on Fox News defending Donald Trump's racism against Somali migrants and citizens of the United States.
Minnesota and their Somali community as ICE is zeroing in on the Twin Cities.
They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. But when they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
You know, I'm sure there are very honorable, law-abiding, upstanding citizens and contributors from the Somali community here in the United States. But that doesn't mean we can't use our judgment, our wisdom, and analyzing the various contributions of communities and cultures. We're not going to pretend here that all cultures are of equal value or are the same. No one really believes that. No one makes individual choices on a day-to-day basis that reveals they think all cultures are the same, where they choose to live, what they choose to eat, who they choose to socialize with. It's mostly a virtue signal, and that's what you get from most politicians when it comes to this very serious conversation that needs to be had about our culture here in America. You normally get from politicians just pandering, just nonsense, just stuff like this from Minnesota's mayor.
That's not American. That's not what we are about. And we're going to do right by every single person in our cities. And so, to our Somali community, Daman Shabka, Somaliyed Kunul, Minnesota, Garahan, Minneapolis, Waan, Ku Janila Hai, Waan, Ku Gereb Taganahan.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. I would be curious, I don't know Somali, if that's a little bit like Jill Biden saying she likes tacos. I don't know, because it's in Somali. I speak English because I live in America. And that's the point. This is a country with a culture, and we have a right to ask whether or not all cultures are compatible with the culture of America.
We are not going to pretend here that all cultures are of equal value or are the same. by extension, the flip of that is that white culture, American white culture, is more superior than any other. That we're not of equal value or the same because we're better. That's what he's saying. He's not even being cute about it. It's not even like a wink, wink. And he wants to tell you that any other viewpoint is virtue signaling, that we finally have a president. That's what you get from most politicians, he said, but not Donald Trump. He tells you the truth about white culture. Then they mock the Minneapolis mayor with his broken Somali. I don't know why you would, maybe that means something to the people of Somalia or the people of Minneapolis who are of Somali descent. Maybe, I guess, I don't know. But this is where we are. We are so downtrodden. We have lost so much ground relative to equality and equity and decency even, that journalists have to ask questions like this from John Berman to Tricia McLaughlin, who is the spokesperson for Kristi Noem, that really, he asked the question, how many of the 40,000 Somalis that live in Minnesota are garbage? That's the question he's asking someone paid to be a spokesperson for this administration. How many of them are garbage? I mean, he might as well ask, so how many of the Jews do you think are vermin? Oh, wait, no, that's my question from the 1930s. Let me break out my 2025 version for the Trump administration. Watch this.
The president yesterday spoke extensively about his feelings about security and immigration and asylum in different parts of the country. He said he does not want people from Somalia here. He called them garbage. The Wall Street Journal estimates there are some 40,000 people from Somalia, born in Somalia, living in Minnesota right now. How many of the 40,000 people born in Somalia living in Minnesota do you consider to be garbage?
John, we're really looking at the data, the analysis here, particularly out of Minneapolis and other parts of the country where we're seeing Somalia. There's widespread fraud, particularly marriage fraud when it comes to immigration. We're looking at criminality here. Homeland Security has very reliable data here and analysis that we can go after these individuals and make sure that they're not a public charge on our communities, and they're also not a public threat to the American people.
My question is, all of them? The president says he doesn't want them here. He called them garbage. Do you consider that to be all of the 40,000 people born in Somalia now living in Minnesota?
John, this is not about politics. This is about public safety. We saw what just happened last week with the terrorist attack against us here in our nation's capital, where one of our great heroes, Sarah Beckstrom, was killed. That's what the precipice of this was. That's why we have to get back to base camp and make sure we are prioritizing the American people's safety. It cannot be overstated the position the Biden administration put us in when it came to vetting, letting some of these individuals under these parole programs where there was little to no vetting, no biometric data, no criminal background history, no cyber, no financial crime history. They were really relying on people to vouch for these individuals and say they should be in the country. When it comes to asylum claims as well, they were not interviewing these people on a yearly basis as expected by USCIS. That's why these people can... Go ahead, John.
I'm so sorry. The individual who came to the United States suspected of killing, so tragically, that National Guard member, came to the United States during the Biden administration, was granted asylum in April during the Trump administration.
Not normal. Dangerous. White supremacy. So again, for all of the people who are probably not here because they stopped watching me years ago when I used to say, and I still say, that the Republican Party is the largest, most effective, and dangerous white supremacy organization on the planet. Well, stop being hyperbolic. You're just exaggerating. That's not the way it is. Am I not right? Am I not correct? We're in a situation now where the media has to ask questions or chooses to ask questions like, how many of the 40,000 people born in Somalia live in Minnesota do you consider garbage? And she never even challenged the premise of the question. She didn't say, we don't think they're garbage. She said, we've got to study the data. Is this your country? Listen, I've got all kinds of trolls who watch every moment of my content. Trust me, I get many voicemails and emails from them every single day because they are obsessed. Is this the country you want? Howard in Ohio? Is this what you want? Because if the answer is yes, that means you're a bigot. You are a white supremacist. If you agree with Will Cain that white culture is superior, you might as well be Richard Spencer or Jared fucking Taylor or Nick Fuentes. It is antithetical to the Constitution of the United States that you Republicans claim to love. But much like your Bibles, you cherry pick that too. Even though it clearly, plainly, literally says due process for all persons, you think it's only for citizens because you're liars and your cult leader is a grifting megalomaniac. What do you think? I'm sure I'll hear from the trolls. I don't need to tell them what the number is. They have it programmed into their phones. 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. But the best way to do it is just comment below this video. Make sure you're subscribed. It's free. Share this video. Engage with the content. That would be fantastic. I'm going to go. I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.